Welcome to Lior Times. I'm your global business correspondent, and today I'm bringing you a story that is quietly reshaping the largest healthcare market on Earth. While the world is busy watching wars, assassination attempts, and geopolitical drama, a far more permanent transformation is happening inside the United States pharmaceutical industry. It is called TrumpRx. And in the past 72 hours, the biggest healthcare conglomerate in the world, Johnson & Johnson, has officially joined this platform with 4 of its blockbuster medications. With this single move, the Trump administration has now pulled in 15 out of the 17 largest pharmaceutical companies on the planet into a government-backed, direct-to-consumer drug pricing platform. This is not just an American story. This is a global story. And for India, which exports over $25 billion worth of pharmaceuticals to the United States every single year, this could be the single most disruptive policy shift of the decade. Stay with me. The next 10 minutes will completely change how you look at the global pharmaceutical industry. Let me start with the basics. What exactly is TrumpRx? TrumpRx is a U.S. government-backed website launched in February 2026 by the Trump administration. The platform allows pharmaceutical companies to sell their medications directly to American consumers at significantly reduced prices. The website is positioned as a centralized portal that guides consumers to company-specific direct-to-consumer pages. The deal works like this. Pharmaceutical companies voluntarily agree to lower their drug prices for American patients. They expand Medicaid access. They market their drugs through TrumpRx. In return, they get a 3-year exemption from any tariffs the Trump administration may impose on imported pharmaceuticals. Also avoid the threat of strict drug pricing regulations. It is a classic carrot and stick approach. The carrot is tariff protection, the stick is regulation, and it is working with extraordinary speed. Now let us talk about who is on the platform. Pfizer was one of the first big names to sign on. Eli Lilly, the maker of the world's most valuable diabetes and weight loss drugs, joined early. Novo Nordisk, the Danish maker of Johnson & Johnson, became the latest big name to officially join the platform on Friday with 4 blockbuster drugs. Those drugs are Invokana, Invokamet, and Invokamet XR, which are diabetes medications, and Xarelto, one of the world's best-selling blood thinners. Together, these are multi-billion-dollar drug franchises. With Johnson & Johnson on board, 15 out of the 17 largest global pharmaceutical companies are now part of the TrumpRx system. Now let me explain why this is genuinely revolutionary, in a way no other channel is properly explaining. For decades, drug pricing in the United States has worked through a system of insurance companies, pharmacy benefit managers, hospitals, and complex rebate negotiations. The patient at the end of the chain often pays the highest price in the developed world. An insulin pen that costs $12 in India and $35 in Europe could cost $300 in America. A blood thinner that costs $30 in Canada could cost $600 across the border in the United States. This pricing gap has been the single biggest scandal in American healthcare. TrumpRx attacks this directly by creating a direct-to-consumer government-backed channel. It cuts out multiple middlemen. American patients who are uninsured or whose insurance does not cover a particular drug can now buy these medications at near international list prices. But here is the critical detail most viewers will miss. TrumpRx is currently designed primarily for cash-paying patients. That is, patients who are uninsured or whose insurance does not cover a particular medicine. For insured patients, traditional insurance networks may still offer better pricing. So the immediate beneficiaries are the roughly 26 million uninsured. Even capturing 20% of that flow through TrumpRx represents a structural shift in how drugs are sold in the world's largest healthcare economy. Now let us connect this to the India story, because this is where Indian investors and Indian businesses need to pay very close attention. India is the world's largest exporter of generic pharmaceuticals. India exports over $25 billion worth of drugs to the United States every single year. Companies like Sun Pharma, De Reddy's Laboratories, Cipla, Lupin, Aurobindo Pharma, Zydus Life Sciences, Torrent Pharmaceuticals, and Glenmark depend heavily on the US market. About 30 to 40% of total revenues for many of these companies come from American consumers. Now think carefully about what TrumpRx does. It pulls big brand pharmaceutical companies into a direct-to-consumer channel with reduced prices. If Pfizer's branded drug is now available at a significantly lower price through TrumpRx, the price advantage that Indian generic manufacturers have traditionally enjoyed gets compressed. The pricing gap shrinks. The competitive moat narrows. Let me give you a specific example. A blood thinner like Xarelto, made by Johnson & Johnson, has been one of the most. This is the core threat. It is not that Indian generics will disappear from the US market. They will not. But the easy growth, the easy margins, and the easy market share gains that Indian pharma has enjoyed in the United States over the past 2 decades are about to get significantly harder. Now let me share an angle that most analysts are not yet talking about. The TrumpRx platform creates a powerful incentive for global pharmaceutical companies to manufacture inside the United States. Johnson & Johnson has already pledged $55 billion in research and production investments inside the United States. That includes a $2 billion biologics manufacturing facility being built in Wilson, North Carolina, which will create approximately 5,000 high-skilled jobs. Additional capacity is being built in Pennsylvania and another biopharmaceutical site in Holly Springs, North Carolina. Pfizer, Eli Lilly, AstraZeneca, and others are following similar paths. Within 5 years, the global pharmaceutical manufacturing map will look noticeably different. More production inside the United States, less reliance on imports. Less reliance on overseas contract manufacturers. This is supply chain reshoring on a scale the pharmaceutical industry has not seen since World War II. Now let us talk about what this means for global investors watching from India, the UK, Singapore, the Gulf, or anywhere else. Large-cap multinational pharmaceutical companies that are part of TrumpRx are now structurally protected from tariff risk for 3 years. That is a significant earnings stability premium that the market has not yet fully priced in. Second, pharmaceutical contract manufacturing organizations. Biotech infrastructure plays inside the United States are likely to see a long-term tailwind. Companies involved in cleanroom construction, lab equipment. Analysts suggest biologics manufacturing systems and pharmaceutical-grade real estate are likely to benefit. Third, Indian generic pharmaceutical exporters will face margin compression in the U.S. market. Over the next 18 to 36 months, selective exposure rather than broad sector exposure becomes more important. Fourth, Indian pharmaceutical companies that have been smart enough to build their own U.S. manufacturing footprint or who have invested in higher value specialty and complex generics will fare significantly better than pure low-cost generic exporters. Companies pivoting toward biosimilars, complex injectables, and specialty pharmaceuticals are the ones to watch. Now let me also share the political and regulatory dimension, because this story is far from over. The Trump administration has made it clear that voluntary deals are the preferred path. Regulatory action remains on the table. Officials have already gone through procedural steps for new drug pricing rules. Proposals related to Medicare drug spending include global price benchmarking. Notices showing the completion of key regulatory reviews have been posted online, although no final rules have yet been unveiled. This means the industry is operating in a moment of fragile equilibrium. Pharmaceutical companies are signing voluntary agreements partly because they fear stronger mandatory regulations down the line. If TrumpRx fails to deliver enough cost savings to American patients, the political pressure for harder regulation will only increase. So this is not a one-time policy event. It is the beginning of a multi-year restructuring of how drugs are priced, sold, and distributed in the world's largest healthcare market. And let me give you one more angle that most channels are completely missing. TrumpRx could become a global template. Other countries are watching this experiment very closely. The United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and several European nations are all struggling with their own drug pricing systems. If TrumpRx demonstrates that direct-to-consumer government-backed platforms can lower prices without destroying pharmaceutical company profitability, expect similar models to be considered around the world. India, with its massive Jan Aushadhi generic medicine network, is already moving in this direction. The Modi government has been expanding affordable medicine access for years. A US-style TrumpRx model adapted for India could potentially transform domestic pricing too. The global ripple effects of this single American policy experiment could be enormous over the next decade. So here is the bottom line. In just under 3 months, the Trump administration has pulled 15 of the 17 largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. Johnson & Johnson is now officially live with a voluntary drug pricing platform. This includes 4 blockbuster medications set to benefit tens of millions of American patients. This is a major step forward in drug affordability. Global pharma stocks gain stability. Indian pharma faces a serious competitive challenge. US biopharma manufacturing gets a long-term boost. And the world's largest healthcare economy is being quietly restructured in real time. This is not a flashy story. It will not dominate cable news. But 15 years from now, when historians look back at the most consequential business policies of the 2020s, TrumpRx is going to be on that list. For investors, entrepreneurs, and policymakers, this is the moment to pay attention. That is all for this edition of Lior Times.